Okay, so let's talk about what's happening in this little bit of code. Okay, so we have our for loop. Okay, and this is just how a for loop works in code. Okay, we have our initialization, we have our condition, and we have our iteration. Let me just move all this over. I have definitely started a bit too far on one side. Okay. And then we have the body of our code. So what's happening in our code? So our initialization is setting our index to 0 basically. So I'm going to be talking about a standard for loop here. I'm not going to be going on non-standard ones here. For any of you that know what that means, you'll get it. But so we're going to set our index. We're going to call our index I here. We're going to set our index to 0. Then we're going to set our condition, and we're going to say if I is less than 5. And then we're going to have our iteration, and we're going to say I plus plus. And plus plus just means add 1. It's just a shorthand way of saying add 1. So we're going to come into our for loop for the first time, and when we come into our for loop for the first time, we initialize our value of I to be 0. Okay, so that's when that is run. So I now equals 0. Okay, we're going to go into our condition. Oh, sorry. I mean, that works, but I've put equal to rather than less than. My apologies. I is less than 5. Okay, so that condition is true. Okay, so true. So we go into the body of our code. We do our body of code. We come back out and we come back into our for loop. And then we iterate, and that's when this bit of the code happens. So now I equals 1. Okay, and then we go through again. Is I less than 5? Yes. So we go into the body of our code, we finish, we come back to the top, and we iterate. So iterate. I equals 2. Is 2 less than 5? Yes, it is. So we go into the body of our code, we do it. Now we iterate. I equals 3. Let's rub that out. I equals 3. Is I less than 5? All the way up to 5. So is 5 less than 5? No. No, it's not. So we stop our for loop and we carry on to the rest of our code below. Okay, so why am I doing this explanation? Well, in our code that we've just done, let's rub a bit of this out. Our code is using our index. So in our code, what we're doing is we're setting, so we're saying enemy dot x, so our enemy's x position is equal to 160 plus our index, and we're going to call it I, multiplied by our distance. So we'll just say it's 16 for now. So let's run through this. So we say, we come into our for loop at the top and we say I equals 0. We check our condition. Is it true? Yes, that is true. So we go into our code and we say set our enemy x to 160 plus I times 16. Well, at the moment our I is 16, is 0. So 0 multiplied by 16 is 0. So 160 plus 0 equals 160. Okay, so we set our enemy x position to 160. We then come back around and we iterate our I. So I now equals 1. Enemy x equals 160 plus I times 16. So one times 16 equals 16. 160 plus 16 equals 176. So I set our enemy position to 176. So now we have one enemy here at 160. Then we have another set at 176. Then we go round in our code. We iterate on our I. So I now equals 2. So we 2 times 16 is 32. So 32 add 160 is 192. And so on and so it goes. So we are using our index from our for loop in our code. This can also be used, let's say, if you are making a chessboard and you want to set a bunch of pieces, you can loop through your code and do it that way. And anyway, it's got lots of uses, but it's a really useful way of using a for loop index, and I thought it would be good to show you. So hope this makes sense. Like I say, if any of this stuff doesn't make sense to you, you know where I am.